Or he got me locked in a psych ward and tackled by cops. So, like, I was like, oh, you need help? You want me to call 911 for you like you did for me, you know? So I was an asshole, and he actually did it that night. And, like, his mom still, like, tells people that, like, I killed him. So, like, I don't go back home. I don't go to Morrow County anymore. But it was a month and 3 days later, after committed suicide, that I decided to go to the west side of Columbus and buy drugs.
All right. We have Savannah Ford with us today.
Hello.
She is a local here in Franklin County. I am wearing our sponsor's clothing, K&B Live Inspired, and this hoodie is fantastic. It's my favorite one. Nice quality.
It looks comfy.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
They make great stuff.
Yeah.
And so this hoodie is like based off of someone's recovery journey.
Okay.
So each piece is tied to an individual in their journey, and they pick a word and like a saying. And
that's cool.
Yeah, it's
like
really
that.
neat. It's really neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. Okay, so Columbus, Ohio, Franklin County native.
Yep.
Tell us about your childhood.
So my childhood was pretty toxic. My dad, he hasn't drank in 30 years, and he's just kind of like a dry drunk. But, like, they would throw things and break things and scream all the time, so we would always have to, like, load up in the car, in the minivan, you know, and go.
You and Mom?
Yeah, me and Mom, and then I have 5 brothers, so 3 of us were still in the house, and we would load up in the van and leave all the time and stay with different family members. And she finally left him the summer before 5th grade. She left him before the summer of 5th grade, and we went to, like, 7 different family members' houses, and we didn't have our own
You're
place.
like couch surfing kind of?
Yeah. And, like, these people didn't want us there, but they took us in because they were family. So they weren't that nice to us being there.
Right.
I think I went to, like...
Wait, was it you and the 5 brothers?
3 brothers, yeah.
3 brothers.
Because my oldest brother was 20 when I was born.
So 5 people were moving into these houses.
Yeah.
I could see why that might be disruptive.
Yeah, for sure. So I kind
way.
of had, like, a weird self-identity thing. Like, because I was always the chubby kid. I was the weird kid that listened to screamo music, and I never fit in. So I always, like... my first addiction probably was cutting.
Really?
And I started that back in, like, middle school.
Explain to our viewers what that means, because some may not know.
So, like, I would get, like, anxiety and panic attacks, and to make them stop, I would just cut my wrist. And it almost, like, gave me, like, a high. Like, I remember that being, like, my first high.
Really?
Yeah. So, that was also, like, around that time, different aunts and uncles were, like, getting us drunk because they thought it was, like, funny, and they thought, like, you know, they're annoying us, so, like, let's give them tequila.
We just heard that recently, that, like, somebody's aunt and uncle thought it was funny, or it was babysitters that thought it would be funny to get them high or drunk.
Well, my aunt said, like, we annoyed her, so she would make us pina coladas and have us go lay down. But also, like, we would go to her house, like, every summer because of the stuff going on between my parents.
Mm-hmm.
And some pretty horrible stuff happened to me, and it was unfair because it was like I was escaping this home life here. And then so her husband basically he told me to sneak downstairs when everybody went to sleep, and he would let me play on disneychannel.com, and he pulled up porn.
What year is this?
This is maybe 2006 or 7.
Okay.
I was real young, so.
And this is uncle?
Yeah,
okay.
Uncle by marriage.
Yep.
And it's crazy, too, because, like, I was 22 when I finally told my aunt and mom and everybody that it happened. My aunt spoke to him on the phone for 2 hours and never spoke to me again. And that was crazy because, like, that was, like, my first heartbreak because I was so close to that aunt. We always watched sci-fi shows together.
You didn't do anything.
Yeah, I know. I just told the truth. And he actually threatened to sue me for defamation of character until a couple of my cousins came out and said that he did it to them, too.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, that was, like, one of my biggest reasons why I got high all the time.
We want to take a moment to announce an exciting partnership with K&B Clothing Line, a brand that truly aligns with our visions and dedication to recovery. I started drinking at 13 years old, searching for belonging. By high school, I was lost in addiction, trading childhood for chaos. Alcohol made me feel accepted until it nearly took everything. I hit rock bottom more times than I can count. When I thought no one could help, I found people who never gave up on me. Sobriety isn't easy, it's a battle. But now I fight with love, with service, with purpose. I'm more than my past. This isn't just a sweatshirt, it's a symbol of survival, of strength, of never giving up. Wear it as a reminder. Every step forward is a victory. This is Mark's story. Go to www.liveinspiredknb.com and use code GETAGRIP for 10% off your first purchase. Jeez.
And so, like, I reach 15 and I get in a car accident. And this is like Oxy days. And at 15, they put me on Oxys, Percocet, and Tramadol at 15 years old.
God.
Yeah.
How do you remember how much?
There was, I took 2 Oxys a day, and they were like the 10 milligrams.
2 a day?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I cracked 2 vertebrae in my spine.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah.
It's painful.
And at like 16, 17, I got my first tattoo from my older brother, and he taught me how to snort them instead of just taking them.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like the beginning of the end.
And you're 16?
Yeah, 16. At
Okay.
17, I get kicked out of the pain clinic for smoking weed, as one does.
Okay.
And someone told me it was a perk that was already crushed up, and it ended up being like China, like real heroin. And I remember like that feeling, that first feeling, like it felt like I flew. Like
So when you got kicked out of the pain clinic and you couldn't get your prescriptions, you had to seek out a different source.
Yeah.
And it just so happened to be fentanyl or heroin. Do you know?
Back then it was real heroin.
It was heroin. Okay.
And I was mixing together like heroin and bath salts together and shooting it up at 17, and it was like not a good look.
You were IV user
Yeah.
by 17.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You move quick.
Yeah. Sure do.
Holy shit.
But one day I woke up and I was like, Dad, I can't do this anymore. And he took me. Back then, like I really didn't know much about withdrawals or rehabs or anything. So I went to a dual diagnosis psych ward and got clean. And like I stayed clean for 5 years, and I started doing pills and they were pressed. And that was like the first time I did fentanyl, and it was like.
So you stayed clean from 17 to 23.
Yep.
Were you doing anything to help you stay clean, or were you just kind of
I was just
dry
raw dogging it out
drunk
here,
and white
doing it myself.
knuckling?
Yeah.
Okay.
I still smoked like a lot of weed back then.
Okay.
And I called that sober, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So I meet this guy, and he's working at White Castles, and I just went picked up, pills in the city, and I stop at White Castles, and he told me that he liked me because I yelled at his manager.
Okay.
So we start dating, right? And he introduces me, like I used to shoot up, like I'd never smoked on foil or anything, and he taught me how to smoke meth and fentanyl on foil. And so our relationship was like really toxic, and he ended up committing suicide while he was high. He ran in front of a car in front of my mom's house to do it.
Okay. How old were you when that happened?
23.
23.
Yeah.
And walk us through that evening, because
So,
that is
He had hit me,
a
so
lot.
I went to my dad's house in Columbus, and he was back in Morrow County. And he had messaged me and said he felt like that, and I was an asshole. Like the week before he
like he was telling you, I feel suicidal,
Yeah.
basically, and you probably thought it was attention seeking or like.
Well, the week before, he got me locked in a psych ward and tackled by cops. So, like, I was like, oh, you need help?
Alright.
You want me to call 911 for
Right.
you like you did
Okay.
for me, you know?
Gotcha.
So I was an asshole, and he actually did it that night. And, like, his mom still, like, tells people that, like, I killed him. So, like, I don't go back home. I don't go to Morrow County anymore.
Yeah.
But it was a month and 3 days later, after he committed suicide, that I decided to go to the west side of Columbus and buy drugs. And I overdosed. And when I come to, I'm like, why does that cop look
You
so...
were clean when the suicide happened?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
But I'm like, why does that cop look so familiar when I come to? And then I look over, and there's a dude, and he's got a vest on. He's got carrying a camera around like this. And all I could say was, fuck, what am I going to do? And then, like...
Because this is being recorded for like
Yeah.
a television show or
Yeah.
something.
And that was my first overdose. Their very first overdose is on national television.
Yeah.
That's like, I used that to use for so long. I might as well. They already see me that way, you know?
Right. Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah.
Did they don't reveal your name on that show, do they?
No. So they asked the guy in the camo, what's her name? And he goes, Savannah Bleep. But, like, you
So
have to turn on the subtitles to really hear it. Like,
Okay.
But, yeah. I mean, it's really sad, too, because, like, that video shows you where addiction leads. There's me that's
Absolutely.
sober. Then the guy in the camo, he's passed away. And the other guy's in prison.
So
It shows all 3 options we have.
which yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yep. Institutions, death, or get
You get
sober.
sober. Yeah.
and the one's in an institution, the other one's dead, and you got sober.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Narcan, because I just recently brought this topic up, and I disagree with people who, say Narcan is, you should have to pay for it, or like, why is insulin not free but Narcan is, da 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 da.
Right.
And I mean, you see it all the time on the
Yeah.
internet, like, oh, let the junkies die.
Right.
Let them die. Darwinism, natural selection, like, but they're better off dead. What's your take on that? Because Narcan saved your life. It's it is the reason you're sitting here today. It's the reason I'm sitting here today.
Same. I mean, my last relapse was from Wednesday to Sunday, and I overdosed 11 times from Wednesday to Sunday. 11 times. And Narcan saved me each time. I wouldn't be able to be here and tell my story and help somebody else potentially if that Narcan hadn't been there. And my parents, to this day, they have one in every room in the house.
Yep.
They carry it in their vehicles. I mean, my dad works on campus, so, like, he's always afraid he's going to run into it. And, I'm very grateful for my dad. He Narcan me my last overdose, and it took 14 milligrams of Narcan to bring me back.
Wow.
And that was embarrassing in itself because, I was on the toilet when I overdosed like Elvis. So I come to the EMT saying, ma'am, can you pull up your pants?
God.
Yeah. I mean, talk about embarrassing.
So after live PD and that overdose, that was your first overdose?
Yep.
Okay. What did the next 24 hours look like? Did you come to and then go straight back out?
I think I just laid in bed for a couple of days, and then the dope sick got bad enough, and I was like, let's run out the door. And that would always happen. Like, I would try to withdraw at home, and I would make it like 2 or 3 days, and I'd get a text from a drug dealer, hey, I got a sample for you, and I'd be right back out the door.
2 or 3 days was my number 2. If
Popping Benadryl and NyQuil, trying to get
just
through it.
anything you possibly can.
Yeah.
And I mean, by the third day, you're in so much pain that, like, and then that's where the crimes come in. That's where you start doing whatever to get the drugs. And I always say I had to be put in handcuffs to get sober. Like, I was never going to be able to quit without some kind of help.
I'm very appreciative. I never thought in my life I would say this, but I appreciate Delaware County Jail because they don't give you Suboxone or methadone like Franklin County does.
Well, Franklin County didn't back in my day. They do now.
But so it showed me that I didn't need that stuff to withdraw. And that's what I'm appreciative of. Because I know, like, Suboxone and methadone works for some people. It doesn't work for me. I'm like, ooh, this is money. I can sell this,
Or you're just hooked on something else.
Yeah.
And then what's the point?
Right.
Because my whole thing is, like, if I was on Suboxone or methadone and I wanted to travel, like, say I have a great job and I'm making money, but I've got these handcuffs of Suboxone and methadone. It's like, oh, I got to make sure I have that or I can't do anything. Like, the thought of that sucks.
The strangest thing to me, too, is when, like, I told the doctors I wanted to come off of the Suboxone, they were not happy. They wanted to fight me on it because they get money for it.
Yeah. They get paid.
Yeah.
To prescribe you that stuff.
And, like, I got the Sublocade shot one time, and I tested positive for 9 months after for Suboxone.
Wow.
Yeah. It was not fun because I was in CBCF, and because I kept testing positive, they would drug test me every few days, like, trying to say I snuck subs in. And I'm like, if all the drugs I could sneak in, it wouldn't be subs.
Right. So, okay, so this live PD thing happens. You have your first overdose. Obviously, you just mentioned Delaware County Jail, so you obviously got in trouble at some point. Let's talk about what happens next after the first overdose.
So, I just keep ripping and running, and then for my 25th birthday, I spent it on life support for 3 days. And, like, the craziest thing to me is I've never been a believer. And I ripped the tube out of my throat myself, and the nurse told my mom the first thing I said was God was real. And I've been, like, an atheist most of my life.
So when you say believer, you're talking about a higher power of some sort.
Yeah, I never believed. And that was, like, it still blows my mind to this day that that's what I said was God was real and went back out.
So how do you end up on your 25th birthday on life support?
So I had been up for 17 days on meth.
Oh, 17. We had another 17-day on recently. Wow.
I was like seeing people chase me in the parking lot, and I really thought people were after me. Like, it weren't just shadow people no more. It was like full on people coming after me.
Like, you were seeing shit that wasn't there.
Yes.
Completely.
To the point that, like, the people around me, they gave me a Xanax to make me go to sleep. Well, it had fentanyl in it, and I overdosed. And the crazy thing is, too, like, I confirmed it with a friend that was there. I had done the shot of meth, and I immediately looked at her and was like, you're trying to kill me. You're trying to kill me right now by giving me that meth. So they made my friend leave, and I'm left with these strangers. And when I come to after life support, I have completely different clothes on. So I still, to this day, like, don't know what happened.
After you went out.
Yeah. And it's crazy because, like, this person forgave me.
Where'd you go out at?
I have no idea
Where'd
where I
you
was. It was an
OD?
apartment complex.
Okay.
I have no idea. The people stole my purse. They stole my phone. They stole my shoes off my feet and dumped me. And someone found me in a parking lot and called 911.
Oh, my God.
So they called my mom at 5 in the morning and said, does your daughter have any identifying body parts or tattoos we can identify her with? And, like, my poor mom is, like, 70. And, like, I couldn't imagine, like, having to tell somebody an identifying body part. Like, you could have led with, she's alive.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
She's alive and well, but
Right.
we need to identify. Yeah.
And this was during COVID. So, like, my dad couldn't come see me in the hospital at all. Only my mom could.
One at a time.
Yeah. So that was really hard. And, like,
The fact that the people you were with just, like, robbed you blind, took everything they could that could get them money for their drugs,
Yep.
and then just dumped you in a parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't understand that. Why people wouldn't just call 911, clean up the scene, whatever that may be, get rid of the
or
drugs,
even call and
hide
say
the drugs.
they found me in a parking lot.
So just something.
Yeah, you didn't have to leave me like that.
Yeah, because if you die, then they're looking at charges probably.
So I actually wear the React bracelet from the React team because they're actually the ones who Narcan me that night.
Okay.
And saved my life. So I will always support the React team. They're a great thing for Columbus.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's amazing. Not that you overdosed, but
right.
That the Narcan saved you, and you're sitting here because of that. So you wake up on life support.
Mm-hmm. And
happy birthday to you.
Right. My 25th birthday, which is my golden birthday because I'm 25 on the 25th.
Okay.
And the first nurse I had was, like, really nice. His name was Josh, and he was great. He was really supportive of me trying to get sober. And the next day, the nurse, she was just a raging bitch. I don't know what her problem was. So when I woke up from the life support, they had me on a ketamine drip because I lit the panel up for every drug you could test positive for.
Okay.
And she came in the room and said I was annoying her by asking for popsicles because that was the only thing I could eat after that many days of meth and stuff, you know.
Right.
And she took me off the ketamine drip against the doctor's approval and said addicts did not belong on her floor. So
Whoa.
So I AMA'd, which is, like, against medical advice.
Yeah.
And I had dope in a needle within an hour of leaving.
I mean, I don't blame you for. If someone said that to me, I would have been pretty pissed.
Yeah.
So I don't really blame you for the whole AMA thing. Now going and picking up again wasn't probably the best solution. But that's insane that a nurse would make a statement like that.
In the ICU, too.
Yeah.
I was in the 5th floor of the ICU.
Addicts don't belong on my floor. Okay. Sure, lady.
Yeah, talk about ego.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
That's wild.
And, like, the addiction specialist at Riverside, like, she tried to get me to not leave and stuff. And, like, she told me, like, she was like, you have a disease, it's not your fault. And I wish she would have said, like, what they say at AA, that you have a disease, it's not your fault, but your recovery is your fault.
Yeah, it's your responsibility.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wish she would have finished it with that, because when she just told me it was a disease and it wasn't my fault, I was like, oh.
Excuses. It's like a
I
great
can
excuse.
keep doing this.
A doctor just told me this.
Yeah, a specialist at that. Like.
Yeah, I believe it's a disease. I 100%.
Yeah.
And I just say that because it's deep in my blood. And, I mean, yeah, like, I was screwed. From Jump Street, I was screwed. That's wild. So you leave, you go out, you said you had a needle and a bag?
Within an hour.
Within an hour.
Of leaving Riverside Hospital.
After an OD?
Yeah.
Okay, so...
3 days on life support with breathing machines. Wake up and leave after she says that to me.
Straight back to it.
Yep.
Okay, and how long did that go on for before the next incident that occurred? Because I'm sure there was one.
Yeah, so I get kicked out of a treatment center up here because I'm doing, like, IOP, but apparently they really frown upon it if you go in their bathroom and shoot up and then come back and not out in group. They don't like that.
Yeah, I could see that.
So they kicked me out, And that night I
So
was
you
with,
had snuck drugs into treatment
yeah,
and a needle.
yeah,
Okay.
every day because it was just like outpatient.
How?
So
Oh, you could just leave and
yeah,
then so they like check you, they pat you down when you come back.
nope.
Wow.
It's just like they do IOP and PHP groups. So they were sick of my shit and they tried to like help me and I didn't want to help. So you would have to like daily dose your Suboxone there. So because they were kicking me out, they gave me a whole month's worth at once. And I hooked up with my ex, and he was pretty abusive. He ended up mazed in Oakland Park where that car wash is.
Okay.
He knocked me out in the middle of the road, and the cops took me on a warrant and let him go. So that was the first time I went to jail.
Okay, tell us about that. Tell us
Um,
about your first jail experience and what that was like for you.
so I was only there for a day, and
Okay.
I didn't really like. It was less than a day, maybe 12 hours. It wasn't until the next time I came back that it really did something for me. So the second time I went, my mother, my lovely mother, drove me straight to jail while I was asleep in the car, and because they had knocked on our door and said that I had a warrant, and she didn't. My mom is the law-abiding citizen, you
Okay.
know,
Okay.
and so I took a bunch of Flexero, which is like a muscle
Yep,
relaxer.
familiar.
They well, if you take 60 of them, you're gonna hallucinate.
That's a lot.
Yeah,
My mom was
so
prescribed those, so I used to take like a couple here and there for fun, whatever.
well, I was
But
like,
60's a lot.
was turning me into jail. I was like, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna sleep the first few days through the withdrawals.
Sure.
No, they fucking sent me to the hospital to get my stomach pumped, and it was already too late. I was hallucinating. They put me in a suicide cell in a pickle suit,
Yep.
and for some reason I thought my co-defendant was in there talking to the CO and telling them stuff about. And he's a male, so why would he be in the
What
women's
was the
unit?
what were the charges, by the way?
F5 possession of fentanyl
Okay.
related
So you had
compound.
drugs on you when
Yeah,
he pushed you out of the car.
yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
So that was not fun. Like withdrawing, hallucinating, and in a pickle suit at the same time in a suicide cell. And for some reason, I thought like the teen mom characters from the show were in there talking to me too. Yeah.
So you were out of your mind.
Yes.
Did they do anything for the withdrawals? Did they try to like here's
They
some
gave me
ibuprofen, here's some
they gave me like stuff to help with diarrhea, and then they gave me
Okay.
stuff to like ibuprofen and Gatorade powder, the electrolytes. That was it.
It's more than Franklin County used to do.
Yeah.
Franklin County used to just say, "Good luck, bye,
Right.
have fun."
Yeah. So Delaware is pretty strict on stuff like that. Um, Luckily though, I was on their program. Have you ever heard of ILC? It's treatment in lieu of conviction.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So because I agreed to go to CBCF, they said that they would pretty much erase one of the felonies when I was done. And so I when I went to CBCF, I was on Seroquel and Abilify and Wellbutrin.
Explain to our viewers, to the best of your ability, what CBCF is.
It's a drug rehab boot camp prison.
Okay.
That's the best way I can describe it.
Yeah, it's hard to describe because I worked at one. I worked at one here in Franklin County once I got my shit together. But I always find it hard to explain, like, what it really is. And I also worked there during COVID, so it was more of just like a prison than anything
Yeah, I was
else.
in there during COVID too. So
Yeah.
like there was no contact visits. It was only video. You weren't going out for jobs anymore.
You weren't doing anything.
Yeah. But it was probably one of the best things for me because like they do packets, you know, in there, and I had to do a lot of self work and realize why I was the way I was.
I always thought those facilities were great because in the county jail, you have to be in survival mode, whereas in a place like that, you can actually take time to work on yourself.
Yeah. I needed that structure. I had never had structure before in my life, so being on a routine was nice. And I found it very hard coming home from that to no routine.
Yeah.
It was a struggle boat trying to, navigate coming home.
Any issues from the times you went to jail, or at least the first couple, like with women, or
Yeah.
did you learn any lessons, or?
I learned to not let people know how much money you have on your books, for sure.
Yep, very important.
Because, a lot of people don't get money on their books when they're in jail and they're indigent. So, like, people will start problems with you just to try to get you out of the pod so they can get their stuff in your box.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
And I'm grateful for that in a sense because when I got sentenced to CBCF, I was in the hole. And I really had to, like, face myself, my decisions.
What'd you go to the hole for?
Get into an argument with the girls.
Okay.
Yeah. They said
No physical fight.
no, because in Delaware they
Yeah,
charge you.
that seems really strict over a verbal altercation to send you to the hole.
Well, like 2 days later, our girl in our pod got tased for like trying to charge a CO. So, yeah, I didn't want to play no games. I did not want to find out what it felt like to be tased.
And how long do you sit in the hole for?
2 weeks.
What's that like? 2 weeks in the hole
I
is.
liked it. It was
Really?
quiet, and like them girls, they talk till like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm a sleeper in jail. I like to sleep my time away.
Sure.
And they would just talk all the time, and it would drive me nuts. So I liked the hole. It was quiet. I could read books.
Just hang out, have
Yeah.
your own space.
Yeah.
You didn't lose your mind after a while? Start talking to the walls and shit?
No, so like I'm the baby of my family and I'm the only girl, so I was always alone. You know, it was always my brothers playing together and me by
Really?
myself. So
You preferred it?
yeah, I preferred it. It was quiet.
Interesting.
I liked it. You know,
Okay.
it was nice. And technically, they moved me from the hole to AdSeg, which is still like you're still 23 and 1,
Yeah.
but you get to have your commissary. So I liked AdSeg too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're still alone and you get your commissary.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you do the CBCF program,
hmm
and where do you go from there?
So because they took me off my bipolar medicine, I ended up like really suicidal.
Okay.
And the first day that I was suicidal, they took my belt from me and told me to go take an hour nap. And like I was like, what is that gonna do for me feeling like, you know,
This is post CBCF?
in CBCF.
In CBCF. Okay.
And so the next day I'm like, yo, I'm still gonna like myself, like get me out of here. So it was crazy. The nurse took me to the hospital, dropped me off and left me there. And then I went to a psych ward and I called my PO from the psych ward and he said I could go home as long as I did treatment. So that's where I came home. And I did an IOP program up here in Columbus on West Broad.
Okay.
And it really helped for a long time. And I did really good for like 2 years.
Walk us through that. Walk us through. You went to IOP, things started to click. What changed?
I don't know. I think it was just knowledge, learning about addiction and the things. Like, I swear IOP ruined getting high for me.
Really?
Because, like, I know now, like, it's not fun getting high with a bunch of IOP in your head.
Yeah.
You're like, I shouldn't be doing this
Yep.
shit. Like,
Yep. The guilt and shame creeps
Yeah.
in, and yeah.
and, like, someone, you know, I want to say, too, about guilt and shame, like, the way a counselor described it to me is, like, shame is I am bad, and guilt is I did something bad. But, so yeah, we make it 22 months, and then I ended up having to get a couple teeth removed from, like, you know, drug use.
So you were sober for 22 months.
22 months.
Nearly 2 years.
Yep.
I assume you were doing all the things you were supposed to do, going to recovery meetings. You were helping people, doing service work
Yep.
of some sort.
Yeah.
The whole nine.
Yeah.
So you were in the middle of the boat, so
Yeah.
to speak.
Yeah. And so I ended up with an abscess that had to be drained in my mouth.
Okay.
And that's probably, like, one of the worst pain I've ever felt in my entire life.
Tooth pain is bad.
Yeah. And so they had, like, pulled the teeth, so there was still, like, bone slivers coming out and stuff while I had the abscess. And they gave me this liquid morphine that's like Suboxone, and it goes under your tongue. And it was like before it even really took effect, I was already texting people on Facebook before I left the hospital where to get drugs.
Really?
Yeah, I left and bought crack and fentanyl immediately.
So did you, when they gave you the morphine, were you just like, oh, well, that's a relapse, might as well just go for it? Or was it just, like, what happened? Did the morphine hit you and the gears started to turn? Like,
Yeah, it was like the gears started to turn, like it hit me and
you're
I
like,
was
oh,
like,
that feels good.
yeah, I had forgotten how good it felt. And it's like it reminded me, like, because there's obviously good parts of getting high and good times you had, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
It reminded me of the good times. And, like, I didn't play the tape through and remember the bad times. So I got off probation July 21st. And by August 8th, I was in detox.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
So 2 years, nearly 2 years sober, out the window because you had to have dental work done.
Yeah.
And they gave you medication for that.
Yep.
What would you have done differently? And what would you recommend to anybody in recovery that would find themselves in a similar situation?
Tell them the truth. Tell them that you're an addict or alcoholic and that you don't know if you can have this. And also, like, one thing I didn't do was I didn't reach out to a sponsor. I didn't reach out to any people in the recovery community and ask for advice on what I should do. I thought I know best and I can handle it. It's just one time in the
Yeah, I've got
hospital.
almost 2 years. I know what I'm doing now.
Yeah, right. You know, and I got humbled really quickly with that.
I
And
mean, I can only imagine.
so that was in July, August, and I didn't get clean till January 7th this year.
Okay.
And it was like I just had a moment of clarity, and I was like, what the hell am I doing? I'm like snorting meth every day, and like it's okay because I'm not doing fentanyl, right? You know, it's just meth. And one day I just woke up and I messaged somebody and asked if they would take me to a meeting.
What
And
what happened between July and when you get sober? When you decide to get sober, like what did that time look like?
I was
After,
ripping
because
and running. I got high. Like I wrecked my car.
a lot of people talk about how when they accrue time, sober time, and they go back out, you pick up right where you left off. Was that the case for you?
Not really. Like I feel like tolerance wise, like my tolerance was down. And like I said earlier, from that Wednesday to Sunday, I overdosed 11
And
times.
this is after the dental work.
Hmm.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you get out, and are we talking same week?
Yeah.
Same week, Wednesday to Friday.
Sunday.
Sunday. You
Yeah.
overdosed how many times?
11.
Okay, you got to walk me through this. You got to walk me through how that, 'cause that's a lot of.
So the people I was getting high with, they would go to the methadone clinic every day, and they would give out Narcan there. So pretty much the same person like Narcaned me a bunch of times and saved my life, but no one called 911, not once.
But the stuff you were getting obviously was really strong.
I don't know if it was just really strong or stronger than like when I was in the game, before.
Because you had some clean time under your
Yeah,
belt.
I had no tolerance at all. I could hit it once on foil and just be out.
Damn.
Yeah, it's not the same game it was 10 years ago.
No,
And
not
like
at
they
all.
have the xylazine now that's in it, and that Narcan doesn't do anything
I've
to.
heard about it. Yeah.
That terrifies me.
Yeah.
Because like Narcan obviously is a big part of my story and is the reason I'm here today. So like the fact that there's a drug out there that like Narcan doesn't do anything to,
Doesn't
that's
help.
that's scary.
Yeah.
I feel so much fear for the people I know that are still using.
Yeah, it is. It is really different. I mean, yeah, for me, it was, Oxycontin, like the original, the 80s.
Yeah.
And then I actually did real heroin,
Mhm.
not fentanyl.
Right.
And I got sober in 2016. So I got out like right before fentanyl truly took over.
See, that was about the time I came back into the game after that 5 years, and it was all fentanyl. And it felt like, the real heroin was kind of easy to get off compared to fentanyl. It felt like fentanyl sucked my soul from me, pushed me to my knees, and said, "Stay there, bitch. Don't move."
Wow.
And I was there for years like that.
God.
Yeah. But
Yeah, that's a lot of overdoses. And I think a normal person would be like, they'd ask you, like, isn't that enough to,
you would think.
you know what I mean?
You would
like,
think life support would be enough.
to make, yeah, right, to turn
But
the
I
corner.
had drugs within an hour of leaving.
Yeah.
It's really true what they say. You're not ready till you're ready.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like this time I had a moment of clarity. And like this was the first time I ever did this. My cousin is like my best friend. We call each other cousin twins.
Okay.
And I handed her my phone and I was like, and I'm OCD. Like I put a plug and ice cube emoji next to all the plugs in my phone.
Yep.
So I was like, it's coded. So just go through and delete everything for me. And she did. She went through and deleted all the contacts. And so like right now I couldn't even get it if I wanted to. I deleted a bunch of people off Facebook, blocked them. So it was like a moment of clarity this time that was just like, this is not the life I want to live. I didn't think I'd be back here, and I don't want to be back here again.
And even after the overdoses, I mean, you just kept going until,
Yeah, because I justified it by saying it's meth, not fentanyl. I won't overdose.
Okay, so you moved away from the opioids and started doing meth towards the end.
Yeah.
And what was that like? I mean, I know you said you were up for 17 days
Horrible.
at one
I was
point.
always paranoid. I was always stuck in my phone like this, sitting in the...
Doing nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doing dumb shit. And the sad thing is I was babysitting my cousin's little kids at this time. And that was like another wake-up call. I was like, I'm getting high and these little kids aren't here. What if like they get a hold of it? What if I drop it? What if like, I do something wrong and they die or something?
Right.
So I knew like I had to get away from there. And like I went home and I didn't go to detox or anything this time. I just slept a lot. And then I went back to IOP. And that's like been a big thing. I've been IOP meetings, sponsor that whole... It's made a big difference this time.
What was it like coming back after having 2 years under your belt? Because, thank God for me, I'm coming up on 9. I have not experienced that, but I'm curious what that experience is like. Because I would have to imagine if I went out after the amount of time I have, like, it would be really, really hard to come back.
It was. And like I spent probably more time getting high than I should have just because I didn't want to come back and admit that I had screwed everything up again and had to start over.
Right.
But
You
I think
kept, like,
it's
delaying it.
yeah,
Like, yeah.
yeah. But I think it's really important to show other people that it's never too late to start over. And like a new sober date is a lot better than a date on a headstone. And that's where I was going if I didn't stop. I was going to be dead.
Yeah.
This like really is life or death for me.
I mean, yeah, it is for anybody that's in this game.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So what will be different this time, or what do you feel you need to do differently to stay on the right track, I suppose?
I feel like I always had like a reservation and I always kept a way to contact certain people.
So there were like certain things the first 2 years you never let go of that were just kind of there.
They were just kind
in
of there
case.
in the background in case I needed that plug to answer or something.
Right, in case you wanted to ruin your life really
quick.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. No, that's what it is. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, but so yeah.
Tell me about what life is like for you today. And I mean, you're sitting here with 60 days. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's a big deal, especially like being willing to come on here and admit, like, yeah, I had 2 years and I relapsed, and now I'm sitting here with 60 days. Tell me about your life today. What's it look like?
So right now I'm not working. I do IOP 4 days a week.
Okay.
And I do counseling once a week, and I meet with a nurse once a week. And then right now too, like I'm a pretty severe diabetic, and so I'm trying to like work on that. And I go to meetings, and like it's nice. Like I've made a lot of friends in Columbus that are sober recently, and I really enjoy their company and the jokes they tell and the stuff. Like it's nice to have that support.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was like the first thing that went was like I stopped going to meetings before that relapse, and I forgot like what a beautiful family it is there.
Right. Yeah, and that's also one of the things that people always say to look out for. You know, you decline on your meetings and you're headed in the wrong direction.
My attitude of gratitude changed too. I didn't care anymore. Like, and it like started with like I'll just smoke weed. It's just weed.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Take us back through your using days and give us a couple of your wildest stories. I mean, obviously you told us about the live PD overdose, but give us a couple of stories from your using days that were out of control.
Have you ever heard of the Sublocade shot?
I have.
Okay, so I got the Sublocade shot.
But for our viewers, explain what it is.
Okay, so it's like Suboxone in shot form, and it goes into your belly, and it's like a little pellet that forms, and it releases every 24 hours. Well, I got it, and it's kind of like if you do dope and then you take Suboxone, you go into precipitated withdrawal.
Yes.
Well, I did that, and I called the recovery center and talked to the doctor and the owner and threatened to kick his ass if he did not come cut this shot out of me so I could get high. Like,
yeah, because you don't have a choice.
Yeah.
It's not.
I was like, you're gonna cut this shit out of me, or I'm gonna come up there and kick your ass. Like, you know that, right?
You want to get high that bad?
Yeah, like, and with Suboxone and like Vivitrol, you know you can't do opiates, so like you start craving stuff like meth and crack.
Sure.
So
that's what happened to me. My last relapse, I was on Vivitrol, and I knew I couldn't do opiates, so I did alcohol, meth, cocaine, crack.
Yeah.
I mean, basically anything. And I'm not even an uppers guy.
Yeah, me either.
But
I like to sleep.
You know, I couldn't get high on my drug of choice, so
yeah.
You know, I went for whatever.
Yeah.
That's wild. Yeah, cut this out of me.
I also like when he finally kicked me out of that treatment center, I was going to leave and like the elevator was right there and I had like a steel tumbler coffee cup in my hand. I was so mad and I went like this and just hit the wall and the whole elevator button went into the wall and broke. And he ended up telling me, like, it cost, like, $1,500 to fix that elevator that I broke. But that man still let me come back and wanted me to have a chance to get clean.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Were there any crazy nights that you remember, like, while you were out there, especially on the meth, that come to mind, that stick out to you?
I mean, there was that time that, like, I stole the tip jar from Massey's Pizza.
And, tell us about that.
So, I got left in Delaware. and got beat up by this guy. So I went to like the only place I knew, which was the trailer park, and this lady always made tie-dye there, but she did drugs. So I knew I could go there, and it was like right by the Massey's Pizza. So I just like ran in there and was like, "Hey, can I have a drink of something?" And I was like shoeless, like barely had any clothes on, was all methed out, and had all my tattoos showing too. So obviously it was me.
Well, I mean, you went into a store. I'm sure they had security cameras.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
so
as soon as he hands me the pop, he turns around and the tip jar's right there, and I'm just like, out of here, Audi 500.
right in front of him.
Yeah,
How much was in it?
$50. And I had to pay $550 restitution for that.
What'd you get charged with? Petty theft.
Petty theft. So now I'm not allowed to pawn anything in the state of Ohio, which really affected my active addiction.
Yeah, yeah, I got put on that list too at one point.
Yeah.
Kind of sucks when you're trying to get high.
Yeah.
What other charges did you get?
So the first week I was home from CBCF because, okay, so my dumbass went to probation with a crack pipe in my boot. So, like, my probation officer called me Woody forever. Like Toy Story?
Yeah, you got a snake in your boot. So
Yeah.
you go to probation for a visit? And
Yeah,
to
just
drop,
for a check-in.
And
And
to drop, I assume?
my dad said that he never did this, but I assumed him or my mom had called him and told him that I had relapsed because I overdosed the day before we went. And I had foils in my pocket, too. So, like, the first week I was home from CBCF, I went to go check in with him. And he rearrested me and let me know that I was indicted again the first week I was home.
And the indictment was?
They charged me with possession over the foil.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have 2 F5 possessions. It was actually a possession, real heroin, which is weird because I thought it was fentanyl. And then possession of a fentanyl-related compound. And then I have, like, old, back before weed was legal, like, they charged you with drug abuse for it. So that was some of the charges I had and the petty theft.
Tell us about the crack pipe thing.
So for some reason, my addiction told me I was going to leave probation and go get high.
Okay.
And, like, as soon as I got in there, he had me sign a paper. And then he was like, step in the hallway. I was like, oh, shit. It's never good when they tell you to step in the hallway. And, like, so I was going to be going to Delaware County Jail. And I know they charge, like, 8-9 months for conveyance. So I pretty much just gave it to my probation officer at the probation. And because I didn't want to get a conveyance. And he's just, like, looking at me as he's shaking my boot out. And his crack pipes were falling out. Foils falling out.
Well, I mean, that's smart, though.
Yeah.
Because you would have been screwed.
Sitting a lot longer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you would have been charged with a bunch of conveyance charges.
Yeah,
And you might
which
have
is
gone to
worse
prison.
than an F5. So.
Yeah, it's an F3. I was
Yeah.
charged with one. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did they do the whole pop out with the camera thing when you stepped out into the hallway? Did they do that in Delaware County? He just cuffed you up.
Yeah, they just cuffed me up.
And you violated how?
I don't know what made me be honest that day, but he was like, when was the last time you used? And I was like, yesterday. And he was like, step in the hallway.
Oh, you told him the truth.
Yeah. I don't know what made me tell him the truth because, like, I never told him the truth about anything. I always came up with lies. I don't know if I was just wore out and tired of that life.
It's still a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
Nonetheless.
And even though, like, I didn't complete CBCF, I still learned so much about addiction there.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I've been thinking about going for peer support lately just because I think it would help other people.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
But then again, like, it's like I deal with my own problems. Like, I don't know if I could handle somebody else's.
Yeah. You really got to be in a good place to do something like that. The thing that I liked about where I worked was, like, there are rules and they're enforceable.
Yeah.
And so if you did not want to follow the rules, I could just enforce, there were consequences. So it was very black and white for me. But emotionally it is exhausting. It can be to work in that field.
Oh yeah.
It's a lot. But that's cool that that's something you want to do.
Yeah, I want to help people somehow. I don't know how that is going to be yet, but I know I'm going to do something one day that's going to help people.
So deliver a message to our viewers who maybe they've relapsed and they're still hiding it. Or maybe they have been in your shoes and, they had some time and they're ready to come back.
One thing I realized...
What would you say?
I would say that, like, you may think you're oblivious to everybody, but people already know. So just be honest and don't procrastinate because the longer it takes, It's never too late to start over. And like I thought there was shame with starting over, and I thought people wouldn't welcome me back because like, oh, she's just gonna do it again. But everybody welcomed me back with open arms.
Yeah.
They were just happy to see me be sober and honest. So it's a lot better to have a new sober date than
Like you said, yeah.
yeah, a date on a
Date
tombstone.
yeah, on the tombstone.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Anything for young Savannah that you could have told yourself?
Young Savannah that I could have told myself.
Or any advice you would have given yourself in hindsight?
In hindsight, don't care so much about what people think about you. Because I was really like overweight growing up, so I was always consumed by what people thought or said about me. And I don't feel that way anymore, People are going to say whatever they want to say. If you know yourself in your heart, you can't let what people say affect you.
So that whole fitting in and belonging thing was like huge for you.
Yeah. And even like I was telling some girls at AA the other day, like I was so afraid to approach them because they seemed like so like proper and like pinkies up type of people. And then once I got to know them, I'm like, oh my God, they came from the same trailer hood as me.
I was just about to say they were jamming needles in their arms too, and yeah, they're no different than you are at all.
Right, but if they can act that way and carry themselves that way, then I can too. I can carry myself in a different way that I have.
It's tough. I speak to middle schoolers, and I always struggle to try to find the right words to emphasize. Like, I can't tell you if you're alcoholic. I can't tell you if that first drink is going to lead you down a path that you can't come back from. But if you never do it,
you never have to worry about it.
And I always try to explain, like, I know that high school feels like it's the most important thing in popularity, and like, but when you graduate, you all separate. Nobody cares. You're like almost forgotten about, except for your close friends.
Right.
So yeah, it's a tough message to deliver, but I like what you said. Do you have anything else that you'd like to share with the viewers or with us from your time, or?
Just don't ever give up. Like, that's one thing I've learned is that, like, no matter how many times I fall and relapse, there's always a point for me where I get up and try again. So, one of my first AA books, someone wrote in it, and I think I'll end with this, don't let the fear of striking out keep you from playing the game.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot because I've seen normal people that are stuck in fear that won't make changes and their lives just stay the same.
Well, you know what fear means, right? It either means fuck everything and run or face everything and recover, so.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you for your time. Your story was incredible.
Thanks for letting me come on.
Yeah, and thanks for coming out.
Yeah.